Here we go, Module 5. All right, so we've talked about what is debt, what's good debt versus bad debt, how we get into debt. Now we're going to talk about managing that good and bad debt. So you're in debt. We're going to assume you're in debt, and we're going to talk about how to get out of debt. But while you're getting out of debt, how do you manage it all? So the first tip I'm going to give you is that you have to pay down more than just the interest. You have to pay principal and interest. If you have a really high interest rate credit card, my goal for you is to have half of your payment at least be principal. As much as you can, obviously, as much as you can, whenever you can, pay principal. But at a minimum, if you can, have half of your payment be principal. So if your payment, let's say, is $250, and let's say $200 of that is going towards interest, and only $50 is going towards principal, I need you to pay $400 a month so that $200 is going towards interest and $200 is going towards principal. You've got to at least be paying as much on principal as you are in interest. This is how you can keep up managing the debt. You overall have to just pay more than interest. You have to keep up. You have to be on time. That is the second tip. You have to be on time. They give you specific payment due dates because if you don't pay by the due date, there will be late fees. Sometimes $35, $50, $90, whatever the late fee is. And then on credit cards, if you don't pay by the due date, they charge you interest for that whole month on whatever the balance is left over. So you're talking about more fees and more interest if you aren't on time. So how do you get around that? We manage that debt by setting up automatic payments. Okay, so it's very easy nowadays with technology to go into your online banking and send an automated monthly payment just to know that at least the minimum payment is covered. And then if you can pay more throughout the month, obviously go ahead and throw more money at it during the month. And we'll talk about how getting out of debt in the next module, but in coming modules. But you have to be on time. You have to set it up so that you either go on the credit card's website or your bank's website. You can go directly to the credit card website or to the loan website. Sometimes if you have, for instance, a Honda car, you can go to Honda Financing and set up recurring payments so that you don't miss payments and you don't incur additional fees. That's how you manage the debt. You be on time, you pay as much as you can above and beyond the interest. In that way, you manage that debt ongoing to make sure you're not getting further into debt. If you're just paying the interest, then every month you're not getting anywhere. I suppose you could consider that managing your debt, but you are just spinning your wheels. You're not getting anywhere. And then the next time an emergency happens in life, you're just going to incur more debt, which makes your situation worse. So I don't consider that really managing your debt. Now, you may be sitting there saying, Amy, I can't afford to make these payments. I can't afford to pay down principal and interest. Well, that's what we're going to get into right now. This next module, we're going to talk about budgeting. I need you to have a budget. You have to have a budget. If you're really serious about this course and you're really serious about managing your debt and getting out of debt, the first step, and we're going to talk about specifics, how to set up a budget. It sounds like common sense. It sounds like you may just be sitting there like, okay, well, I know my budget. I know how much I bring in and I know how much I owe going out. But then where is all your money going? How much do you spend on clothing per month? How much do you spend on food per month? You need to know these numbers in your budget to know how much you can put towards your debt to get out of debt, to truly get out of debt, because you can stay in this module right here and manage your debt for a long time. But life will happen. Life will come up, and you'll have to be in another situation where you ask yourself, do I take on more debt, or how do I pay this off? Medical bills, that's another good one that we'll talk about. Medical bills, sometimes you can just call up the company and say, instead of paying this whole balance, let's say you have a $1,000 medical bill, can I pay $100 a month? Sometimes they won't even charge you interest. So this is part of managing that debt too, is just being on top of all your debt that exists. Have a spreadsheet. Even if you don't have a computer, have a physical paper spreadsheet that shows all your debt and their interest rates. We have to be able to be aware and identify what your debt is in order to manage it. So again, let's recap real quick before we move on to budgeting and then how to get out of debt. Managing that debt, you have to be paying the minimum payment at least. You have to pay some principal to be getting anywhere in managing your debt. You have to be on time. And to be on time, if you're not one to remember, if you're not one that's good with mail, set up the automatic recurring payments, either at your bank on bill pay or at the actual loan institution. Whoever lent you that money, go to their site and set up a recurring payment to make sure you're on time and you don't get more fees and more interest on top of everything you already own. And to be on top of everything, the final step in managing your debt is to be aware. Be aware of all of your different debt, all the different interest rates, and I would even take it one step further and put on your spreadsheet the terms. How long is the term for? Some loans have fixed terms. Some loans just go on until you pay off the balance, like a credit card. So be aware, and we can manage that debt so it doesn't get worse and you get in this downward spiral. If we can manage it, that's the first step in really starting to be on top of it to get out of debt. So now we're going to talk about building a budget. How do I budget? And then we'll get into specific strategies of paying down that debt.